Yeah, that's my question, Tom. Every time a big name free agent comes up, we joked earlier, Earl Thomas and Jadeveon Clowney are going to end up in New England. But every time a big name comes on the market, Adrian Peterson now, we hear, oh, the Patriots are interested. The Patriots are interested, whether they are or whether they aren't. And Mike has this theory that the Patriots were never interested in Leonard Fournette. They just kind of threw it out there. How much of that interest that we heard about was real, and how much of it was, no, they're not really interested in Leonard Fournette?
I think it was much more the latter. They were kicking tires and finding out what was out there, as any director of player personnel, director of pro personnel has to do. And it got, as Mike pointed out very accurately, agents, teams, agents in particular, are excited to always use the Patriots as the stalking horse to drive up the price. Now, I think what's interesting is Bill Belichick looks at that and says, that's fine. Somebody overpays or somebody makes a panic buy on someone that we're not interested in, that's great. And if by extension the player on my roster who plays that position gets the vibe that I'm looking to replace him, I don't even have to yell at him today. Generally, he's going to work even harder. So, Mike, you're exactly right. We've seen it through the years, and covering the team, whenever any player of some note is released, we do deal with a wave of the Patriots interested. Now, they do make plenty of signings that are adventurous and not what we would expect, and name signings as well. So that's fair, too. I mean, Antonio Brown being a perfect example of it. So you got to stay loose on it. Oh, Bo Curran's over there.
Do you see? Oh, Bo, get Bo on camera. Come on, let's see Bo. Where's Bo?
Come here, buddy.
While Bo arrives, let's start framing another question here. Oh, there's Bo. You don't keep it. But no, Bo. Yeah, Bo's very slow. Bo's like his dad.
Well,
all right. Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Oh, all right. Well, so did you. Earl Thomas, Jadeveon Clowney, we joke that maybe they'll end up on the Patriots. Do you see any way the dominoes fall where either of those two guys end up in New England sooner rather than later?
Wouldn't Jadeveon Clowney have to drop his asking price quite a bit? The interesting thing is the Patriots are now sitting on about $35 million worth of rooms, having released Mohamed Sanu this week, and they could certainly afford Jadeveon Clowney. I just don't think that they are in the market right now for adding big ticket players, but they're always in the market for adding good players. If Jadeveon Clowney was willing to come in on a year deal, I think that certainly would make sense. As to Earl Thomas, it's such a young secondary. You got a guy who is a two-time now loser at his last two locations as having been kind of a pain in the ass. So with an impressionable young defense, it's dealing with a ton of opt-outs and a leadership void. I don't know if you want to bring in Earl Thomas. Again, in both instances, though, the Patriots need better talent on their roster right now. It's not a very talented roster on either side of the ball, regardless of what they did defensively last year because of the free agent exodus and the number of opt-outs, which was 8 in several key guys on defense.
Another name, Tom, that was just released is Adrian Peterson, and again, the Patriots are in on all these guys. Would he be a guy you think? Do they need an upgrade at that position that he would be a guy they might look at?
Adrian Peterson seems to me to make more sense than Leonard Fournette, just because the Patriots were interested a couple of years ago, and the release of Adrian Peterson. If you look at the Patriots running back room, they're pretty stacked. Mike Tannenbaum went as far as to call it the best running back room in the NFL. I don't think it's that. I think it's the most versatile. They have players who can do all things, whether it's James White or Rex Burkhead, who's a multi-talented back, or Michelle or Damian Harris. But I think Adrian Peterson still has something in the tank. Don't you guys?
I definitely think he's still got something in the tank. Now, he's always going to think he's got something in the tank, even when he's 75 years old. But it's going to be interesting to know exactly what the story was behind this. Do they just think he doesn't have it anymore? Was there something else? Do they feel more strongly in an Antonio Gibson or a Bryce Love? I don't know. But, this is the kind of guy hungry for a championship that again, if he's just above that basic threshold of what the Patriots are looking for, and if he won't get upset if he doesn't get a lot of touches, he just makes sense to me as somebody the Patriots would want.
100%. Here's the flip side of that, Mike, and this is the question that we're all kind of broaching every once in a while. Are the Patriots still that destination location in 2020 that a player thinks he's going to be able to compete for a ring here? Or was Tom Brady the common denominator in that? Do those players look at it and say, well, Hightower's sitting out, and Chung's sitting out, and they lost Van Noy, and it's just Edelman at wide receiver. I don't know how good this team's going to be. And say, I don't want to go up and be under the Belichick, regime, which is very demanding, to go 8-8, 9-7, 7-9, and have happened to me what happened in the playoffs last year when the Patriots played Tennessee. So that to me is going to be really interesting as the years pass here, as Belichick's, certainly in the autumn of his coaching career. Are the Patriots the destination that they were for the last 15 years?
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.